Marape Basil government obtained billion Kina loan. ANZ open corporate branch in Goroka. And 36 cadets graduate.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. The Marape Basil government is obtaining a 1.75 billion Kina loan from the Asian Development Bank, with the first 350 million Kina to be made available next year. Treasurer Ian Ling-Stuckey says this is to support the government's plans to transform state-owned enterprises into high-performance organizations. Around 100 million Kina from the initial funding will be used to assist restructure and reorganize Air New Guinea.
In a statement released at 12:22 a.m. last night, Treasurer Ian Ling-Stuckey is expecting some commentary from the opposition about this loan, but says the loan will be at an interest of less than 1%. This loan is provided on what Stuckey describes as highly concessional terms and is linked to the London Interbank offer rate for 6 months, which is currently 0.25%. It includes a grace period of 3 years and a 12-year repayment period. And he is confident the rate of return from this project to transform all SOEs will be high and the government can cover the cost of the borrowings. He says there are good reasons to keep the SOEs operating in the country, and although many SOEs have failed to meet the citizens' expectations, he says Maker Marauta set a good legacy behind when he undertook a reform of the SOEs back then, and Bank South Pacific and Nest Fund are success stories from this reform. Stuckey adds this government is now restarting the reform and will set in place clearer frameworks for public-private partnerships, ensuring that the public interest is protected while encouraging a level playing field for increased competition. And he further says these reforms may be similar to the BSP and Nest Fund reforms. He added they will ensure SOEs are accountable, more reliable and more efficient, with better boards appointed on merit. This, he says, is part of making PNG stronger as the nation emerges from the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, Stuckey said the government observed that some SOE operations continued smoothly, like PNG Ports and Water PNG, while others like Air New Guinea were severely impacted. Stuckey predicts a more difficult road ahead for Air New Guinea, as is the case for all airlines around the world, and saw a funding of 100 million Kina from the initial 350 million Kina to be obtained from ADB next year will be invested in this SOE. This will assist in restructuring and reorganization following the resumption of domestic flights and the rebuilding of international flight services. Ruth Rungula, National EMTV News.
The ANZ Bank in Papua New Guinea has opened its second corporate centre in the country. The new corporate centre was opened in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province on Thursday this week, with particular emphasis on PNG's coffee export industry. ANZ PNG Managing Director Mark Baker says ANZ's strength lies in supporting PNG's non-resource export sectors, leveraging on the bank's presence in 33 markets across the globe.
Pray and ask God so that this house will be put in order for its purpose.
After a short encouragement from the Bible regarding opening of new buildings and a prayer of blessing by a church pastor, the ribbon was cut to signify that the new corporate centre was open for business. The ANZ Bank has been operating in Papua New Guinea for over 100 years now. Despite of Kina Bank's acquisition of ANZ PNG's retail, SME and commercial businesses in September last year, ANZ Bank continues to have a strong presence in Papua New Guinea, particularly through the building of its corporate portfolio. This new ANZ Corporate Centre in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province will service the corporate and institutional clients of the province with particular focus on PNG's coffee export industry.
This centre is really in a way, it links up what Goroka exports, which is coffee, and it links up ANZ as part of that supply chain. We're in 33 countries around the world, and every country that we're in, I would suggest, probably have PNG coffee coming through there at some point. And what we are trying to do with this particular centre is to make it easier, in particular for the coffee buyers, to actually come into a bank to do their transactions in a really safe and secure way, and a comfortable way as well.
Mr. Baker says the new ANZ Corporate Centre in Goroka represents a significant investment by ANZ in the Eastern Highlands province and is part of the bank's emphasis on helping to develop the agricultural sector in PNG.
So we've always looked at the Highlands and Goroka in particular as quite unique. And it's unique because it's, for PNG, it's very global, Goroka. So what gets produced here goes all over the world. It ends up, coffee is what I'm obviously referring to. And when we were looking at how we wanted to establish and support agriculture in PNG, and in particular the coffee industry, it became really clear that we wanted to increase our presence here in Goroka.
Bank of Papua New Guinea is quite pleased. We as regulators, we are quite pleased with the progress that the ANZ Bank is doing, following the authorization for them to sell off their retail business and to start to develop the corporate portfolio that they have. We are pleased that they are on track, even though this year is a very unusual year with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Eastern Highlands Province Governor Peter Numu thanked ANZ Bank for having such a modern infrastructure built in Goroka, which people from the province will benefit from.
Eastern Highlands is the gateway to the Upper Islands and also the gateway to the coastal area. If you want to transport your coffee down to Lake or fresh produce down to Lake, you will pass through Eastern Islands first. And to have this building here for transactions goes in line with the provincial government policy of investment and trade.
The new corporate centre is the second of its kind in the country for ANZ Bank, with the first one established recently at Waigani in the nation's capital, Port Moresby. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Coffee farmers in the Eastern Highlands province have expressed concern over the price of coffee, urging the government and relevant authorities to look at ways of improving the situation. This comes at a time when a new ANZ PNG corporate centre has just been opened in Goroka, which has particular focus on servicing coffee clients in the area and enhancing PNG's coffee export industry.
Coffee is grown in 16 provinces of Papua New Guinea, but production is mainly centered in Eastern Highlands, Western Highlands, Jiwaka, Marape and Simbu province. These provinces account for over 90% of production. Aaron Lawrence Oentuma is a coffee farmer from Okapa in Eastern Highlands province. Speaking on behalf of some coffee growers in the province, Oentuma says although there is a lot of hard work done in the production of coffee, the coffee growers are not getting the maximum benefits they are supposed to be receiving.
Coffee got plenty of work blend. Time people plant coffee, people look out him coffee. I'm growing for 3 years. After 3 years, people start picking coffee. Time people pick him, people carry him walking big plant talk, people machine him, people plant him low remote areas, this is low Okapa or Lufa or backside low Simbu area. Big plant talk blend people walk him. Time people come back to him, people come market him coffee blend, but him lily money.
In a difficult year for business in PNG in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, coffee farmers urge the government and relevant authorities to intervene and create ways to help improve the price of coffee in the area.
So, and this one coffee, me come salim. Okay, me lo 250 per kilo. Big blood bagara, big blood talk lily money. Now me like him country, you must look sabelos la atok me sa wakim. People business wakim. Ellen suggest me wakim. Me like him coffee price, you must go on top of level blend. Go on top of 10 kina, even go to 15 kina.
With the establishment of a new corporate centre in Goroka aimed at assisting coffee business in the area, ANZ PNG is adamant to provide some solutions. ANZ PNG Managing Director Mark Baker says Goroka has been at the heart of PNG's coffee export industry for decades, and the country's high-quality Arabica coffee finds its way into households all over the world.
What we are trying to do with this particular centre is to make it easier, in particular for the coffee buyers, to actually come into a bank to do their transactions in a really safe and secure way, and a comfortable way as well, so that when they go out and secure coffee and then sell it to the exporters, who are generally our direct customers, that makes the whole supply chain much smoother for everybody.
With a new Goroka MP sworn in a few weeks ago following a by-election and other existing challenges for the Eastern Highlands province still in place, the provincial government has plans in place to improve business and trade in the province.
The first thing that, when they elect me as the governor, the first thing that I want to do is to stabilize the government and set these policies right, and also to get the house in order. I'd like to thank the pastor to have the house in order, the government in order, so that you will see more trade, more investment, more business activities to take place in Eastern Islands.
The COVID-19 pandemic has affected PNG's economy, particularly the SME sector. Coffee growers in the Eastern Highlands province have also been affected in many ways. However, commercial banks like ANZ will be providing efficient banking services for coffee growers to recover from the situation. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News in Goroka.
The National Executive Council, through the supplementary budget, has approved 50 million Kina for Commodity Price Stabilization Program. The program aims to improve commodity prices in the country for local farmers to benefit from their produce. A part payment of 20 million Kina was presented to the Agriculture Department yesterday to roll out this program.
When launching the Agriculture Medium-Term Development Plan yesterday, a total of 20 million Kina was presented to commodity boards to support commodity price stabilization. This is part of the 50 million Kina allocated by the government to support this program. The 20 million Kina were divided among all commodity boards to roll out price stabilization program. This is to ensure farmers have access to better markets.
We want to make sure we help the little farmers back in the village. The people who do not know how to write submissions and proposals and take it to the bank. So all we want to do is park the money where the farmers himself must have access to it. We want to stabilize and support the prices.
The Commodity Price Stabilization Program will now see an increase in prices of commodities on local markets. With this support, wet cocoa beans will be purchased at 3 Kina per kilogram and 8 Kina per kilogram for dry cocoa beans. Coffee cherry and copra is expected to be purchased at 2 Kina per kilogram. According to the Agriculture Minister, a total of 1 million Kina was also presented to all districts to support Agriculture Intervention Program, and major exporters are expected to support freight subsidy.
In terms of the freight subsidy, in terms of getting the produce across and to where the door is, we are expecting our major exporters as well to contribute. For far too long, the industry players who are exporting cocoa were big exporters, whether it's a cocoa exporter, coffee exporter. We want them to also contribute to the industry.
According to Prime Minister James Marape, funding was made available to develop the agriculture sector over the years. However, not much has been done. With over 80% of the country's population depending on agriculture, the government is now focused in ensuring market access is made available. This support will see over 3 million coffee farmers and 2 million cocoa farmers benefit from the program.
People are already on those lands. They know how to produce from those lands. It's about government ensuring that market accessibility, right pricing, and ensuring that sector support is rendered or given. And that is why we are focused on agriculture as a government.
The Prime Minister further challenged all commodity boards to ensure these funds reach local farmers. He says the funds are for the farmers and not for personal gain.
I don't want this money to be used in allowances and hire cars, etc., etc. I did not put this money in budget for you to run conferences and workshops. You got enough literacy of data in your systems to ensure that you transfer it directly and straight to our growers.
Rayon Lakingun National, MTV News.
The Agriculture Department is encouraging all districts to partner with the department and all commodity boards to roll out agriculture programs. This is to ensure all local farmers are registered so that the department keeps track of all farmers in the country. Agriculture Minister John Simon says currently the commodity boards do not have accurate data of their respective commodities and the farmers.
So we are encouraging the districts to go in partnership with a program. So what we're doing is we're encouraging the district to go in partnership with the program. We are working in partnership with all the existing commodity boards. The commodity boards are the existing structures that is in place. So the department will be working with them, we'll monitor with them, we'll monitor it through them to make sure we monitor all the programs. And we want to keep track. We want to make sure that every farmer throughout Papua New Guinea is registered. So we know the number of farmers that we have in Papua New Guinea. We know the number of cocoa trees, the coffee trees. Right now, if I ask some of these commodity boards, they don't even have the data to give me. They don't even have the figures to give me.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more of the day's stories when we come back. Welcome back. The member for Sumcar and CS Minister Chris Nangoy has supported a protest by people of the Sumgilbar LLG against the proposed sand mining project. Nangoy said the project is not of benefit to his people and the company bypassed district authorities in an attempt to fast-track approvals. He added that the communities are already suffering the impacts of climate change and don't need sand mining to worsen the problem.
Last month, communities in the Sumgilbar LLG area of Medang's north coast called on the government to investigate how a Singaporean company had convinced LLG councillors to agree to a sand mining project.
Lo community blomipla, lo family blomipla, mi lukimika division stop. Sampla oliga ting lo money. Na mipla sampla mipla tingim good pla blong bian time.
Mining warden hearings were held with unsatisfactory results, and many of the community elders expressed strong opposition to the project.
Community belong here, you know, like him this plan too, and because something when we play against him too, and we play star.
Yesterday, the Sumcar MP and CS Minister Chris Nangoy said there will be no sand mining in his electorate, effectively supporting a loud community protest that has gone on for 2 months.
Sand mining, and as the chairman and the authority in the district, we don't go for.
The Singaporean company New Guinea Sands Limited has been speaking to LLG councillors in an attempt to convince the people to accept sand mining. Members of communities along the north coast are angry that their consent has not been sought for a project that will displace them.
One something I'm disturbing straight lo me am all to call back him 100 meters start lo Solwara and Brooklyn lo Nambis na go outside.
All these things must have policies, in place. And before, any mining takes place, all these decisions come through NEC. I haven't cited anything.
The communities are in the process of writing an objection to the Mining Minister and the Mineral Resources Authority. But the high-level support from the district MP, who is also a member of the NEC, means the project will not happen anytime soon. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
What started as a class of 51 2 years ago ended with 36 cadets who graduated as commissioned officers from the PNGDF Joint Forces Academy. For the cadets, the journey has been tough, going through tactical and leadership trainings over the past 2 years. They proudly displayed their ranks as second lieutenants and inspectors in the PNGDF and correctional services.
This is a joint parade by the senior and junior cadets of the PNGDF's Joint Forces Academy in Lae. For the senior class, it is the last time they step onto the parade grounds as officer cadets. Yesterday, the PNGDF and CS cadets from the senior class graduated and were commissioned as second lieutenants and inspectors. This was witnessed by friends, family and senior officials from the disciplinary forces. While addressing the parade, CS Minister Chris Nangoy said with the recent passing of the Joint Services Bill in Parliament, the Academy will now be recognized as a tertiary institution.
The Joint Force College is now technically a university for the Joint Forces.
That legislation allows for the Joint Forces College to operate as a self-entity, which budget will be directed straight to the Joint Forces College.
While they now stand proudly displaying their ranks, the journey has not been easy. Brian Iron is one of the CS cadets. Being a senior amongst the younger cadets, he said it was challenging.
That has given me the courage to push on. When you have a dream, don't let it be a barrier to. It's about having the courage to push on. So that's what I did.
He graduated as the top CS cadet, and his father, Brian Iron Sr., also a former CS officer, was present to witness this.
I said, you will carry on, and God will guide you and bring you to a place where
Indeed, he did.
Yeah, and now he did it. And I'm very, very proud of my son.
Yapsi Masonga was awarded the Tactics Award and the Sword of Honor. While he has served in the Defence Force, applying for cadet training was another step taken to further his career in the force.
Through this training, it has brought us together. We know men and women from other disciplinary forces as well. So it helps and makes our work a bit easier when it comes to combined operations and all that.
During the graduation, awards were also presented to Graham Stephen for leadership and Dorin Yaku, academic. Last month, the cadets went through the final exercise, the last in their 2 years of training. Yesterday, they were commissioned and their achievements celebrated by family and friends. Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Leh.
Meanwhile, women vendors also in the Upper community in the Nawai district can no longer sell their garden produce at markets in Leh because PMVs have stopped going into the area. This has been the case since the lockdown measures came into effect following the first reported case of COVID-19 in the province. Women who have continued selling at markets in Leh have to walk for up to 5 hours to get to the nearest PMV stop.
Almost every household in the Upper community, like other rural communities, depends on the agricultural sector to make ends meet. Women here used to sell their garden produce at markets in Leh, but can no longer do so. PMVs have stopped coming into this area following the COVID-19 lockdown measures in the province last year.
Pandi road ro mama iksim kake na desa na body big bolo neme restricted on mama bimi na desa ino kare mo kake na market na desa ka mosem so lo ole to side mosem lo osa market na also kisim bigli alvim lo ligli kwan kina tukina lo pam suka na rice na desa na kambeke
no place weti kare go now mosem 2 or 3 days please kake blo mo place dry ino kakar mo place besina mosem
Apo is located in the Labuta LLG in Nawai district. COVID-19 has affected the vendors and added to existing challenges faced by the people. People here walk for hours to Situm Station for health services and PMV access into Leh. Nawai DDA, while acknowledging this issue, said COVID-19 funds for the province was prioritized for awareness campaigns.
Since this pandemic is heading to our district and the province as well, we strongly emphasize that awareness must go down to the village level. So at the community level, they must be aware of prevention and all these ones. Most of the funds
While the COVID-19 tension has relaxed in the province, effects of the lockdown measures are still being felt by the people. Charlene Airy, National MTV News, Leh.
You're watching National MTV News. We'll go for a short break and return with more local stories after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. The leading developer for the PNG LNG project, Exxonmobil Limited, in its efforts to improving access to better education, has, through its investments and partnerships with stakeholders, been able to assist schools in the surrounding project impact areas, more specifically with classrooms, staff houses and wash projects. A recent tour with the Exxonmobil Community Affairs team to one school in the project impact area saw to the presentation of a staff house to the school and how the support stands to alleviate the struggle of a teaching staff that has had to travel long distances to teach her class. And at Cora reports.
With education being a key priority mainly for villages in the PNG LNG project site, ExxonMobil has been boosting its support by building classrooms, staff housing and until recently wash projects to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in the surrounding project impacted villages. Local media, in a recent visit with the ExxonMobil Community Affairs team to Lealea Primary School, saw to somewhat of a small but significant support development projects to assist the smooth running of the school for students and staff. The deputy principal highlighting the school's plight, thanking ExxonMobil and PNG LNG for the building of a new staff house in the school's premises.
We still need some more houses. A good number of our students, teachers are sleeping at the old site. It would be much better if all of them come to the site where we are now, because when they come from there, too many problems, like they come late, that sort of thing.
Teaching occupant Ms. Tinaik described the struggle of a working mother having to travel long distances to make it in time to teach her class and how the new staff building was going to improve her housing situation.
Of the house here, I'm so glad that I am able to stay closer to the school and come to school, go to school early, unlike before where I used to come a bit late because I have to breastfeed my baby. We are happy staying here and we can work hard and work better to serve our school here.
And until recently was the upgrade to school amenities such as sanitation facilities and water catchments have been carried out and placed in strategic locations in the school's vicinity for staff and students. ExxonMobil's support to schools is targeted within its project areas, including LNG plant communities at Caution Bay and communities located near PNG LNG locations within the Southern Highlands and Hela provinces. And at Cora, National EMTV News.
Police Minister Brian Kramer handed over the keys of the 12 new police vehicles that were purchased for Medang District to Medang PPC Superintendent Rubiang Manzu. The vehicles will replace the old existing vehicles that had been used by local police for over a decade. Minister Kramer says these vehicles were bought using 1 million Kina of Medang District funds, while the other 1 million Kina was sourced from the RPNGC. In a small parade at the Medang Town Police Station today, the minister warned officers to look after the vehicles as he continues to look into fixing law and order in the province. 4 of the new cars will be given to Transgogol, where most of the notorious killings have been happening. Meanwhile, Provincial Police Commander Superintendent Rubiang Manzu thanked Kramer for the new fleet and asked if his command can also be equipped with new firearms. A Korean TV series, Dr. Romantic, will be broadcast on EMTV starting next week. This made possible through a partnership between EMTV and the Republic of Korea through its embassy. The Dr. Romantic series is expected to reconfirm PNG and Korea's shared values, respect for life, and strengthen cultural ties between the two countries.
Dr. Romantic centers on surgeons at Doldam Hospital in the remote countryside of Korea and puts forward arguments on what it means to be a good doctor. The series has been widely enjoyed across the world and said to be one of the best medical dramas by viewers.
We started to beam Korean kids TV series Poporo into Papua New Guinea. We see it as a great success. And then we found many commonalities between two peoples in cultural preference and propensity. And in line with this, we brought new Korean TV series called Dr. Romantic.
Rated 4.9 out of 5 on Google, the drama's compelling plot, phenomenal chemistry between characters, and beautiful cinematography is expected to grace your TV screens come November 12. The series will be aired every Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 p.m. on your number one to watch, EMTV. Diana Zoriri, National EMTV News.
Chukai Sports is next. Fiddler Kina will be back with some sporting updates. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Chukai Sports. A successful rugby festival was held in Hula Rigo District on Friday. It was part of the Get Into Rugby program run by the PNG Rugby Union, a junior development program to get students involved in rugby union. It was a whole-day tournament and showcased a good understanding by students of the sport. Rugby union in searing heat was the entertainment of the day at the Hood Point High School Oval, the host of the Get Into Rugby program run by the PNG Rugby Union and funded by the Australian government. Schools in Hula in the Rigo district, especially along the Rigo coast, took part in the rugby festival, showcasing a tag version of the game after learning the basics of the sport weeks before the culmination of the rugby festival.
Look, it's fantastic. You know, Get Into Rugby is a wonderful program that World Rugby has developed all the member unions, and with the support of Oceania Rugby and Pacific Coast Sports, you know, through the Australian government. It's fantastic to have this type of program running for our kids.
Ian Liveras, the administrator of Papua New Guinea Rugby Union, said that this was the best pathway to develop the sport of rugby union right from the junior level.
You know, it takes about 10 years for a player to develop. So if we can get kids involved at this age group, you know, it only bodes well for rugby.
The heat did little to slow momentum with crowds turning up from all the villages, and competitive it was, and showed that the students who took part from elementary, primary and high school were talented despite having their first official match of rugby union.
So very happy, absolutely grateful for the people here on the Rigo coastline, for all the teachers and the schools for buying into the program. You know, without their support this wouldn't have been possible. And a big thank you to Karo Bui, who's our rugby extension officer here on the Rigo coastline. He's done a wonderful job in bringing all these schools together. In total, there are about 12 schools that are taking part in this festival, and you know, without their support, this day wouldn't have been possible. Also, a big thank you to our sponsors who've come on board on the 11th hour: Colgate, Goodman Fielder, and Ilamo Dairy Farm.
Mr. Bani, the sports coordinator of Hood Point Primary, said the students were enthusiastic all week for the tournament.
I have seen interest from students, and they're very eager to play. They have been waiting for this very day. Since when they had that the Tag Rugby Union program was going to okay, they have been asking us on the actual date that it was gonna okay.
In the elementary competition, Riverina Primary School came out winners in the boys and girls category. In the primary school, it was Kalau and Kamali, winners for the boys and girls. And in the high school, it was Kemabolo High School, winners in the men's, and women's, it was Hood Point High School. Ian Liverer says the next festival will be in Sipik, and WIWEC will be hosting with around 20 schools expected to take part.
Yes, we've got our next festival over in WIWEC. That's been organised by the Sipik Rugby Union. That festival is actually going to be a lot bigger than this one. We've got 20 schools involved. We've got an extension officer, Emmanuel Marum, out in WIWEC. That's been fantastic. He's organised a whole heap of schools in the WIWEC area to take part in this in the Get Into Rugby program, which, as I said, culminates in their festival.
And PNG LNG Kumu's coach and Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League High Performance Manager Michael Marape conducted a 3-day coaching and training clinic at one of the PNG LNG project impact villages, which ended on a high note yesterday in Papa Village. The second one conducted so far for LNG impacted areas in the country. The clinic was facilitated in partnership between the PNG RFL and PNG LNG lead developer Exxonmobil Limited.
It was a privilege for the young participants of Papa Village in the past few days as enthusiastic fledgling men and women actively took part in a 3-day coaching clinic with experienced Kumu coach Michael Marape and his high-performance team. Local players were put through paces with the team showing them basic techniques for warm-up, ball handling and fitness training. Coach Michael Marape highlighted the build-up of interest at the community level and how facilitated training clinics like this will help to impart skills to potential up-and-comers in the sport of rugby.
The second visit now with the Papa villages, started on Wednesday, so we're finishing off today. Been good so far. There's good mix of young boys inside, the females as well. So it's good that we've come out and identified them, know where they come from, and probably try and assist them a bit more going forward there.
Much to the delight and satisfaction of having the Kumu coach give basic build-up and training tips to the players via such coaching clinic programs, Exxonmobil Limited was thanked on its efforts to run programs like this to mitigate social issues in the community.
This coaching clinic that was brought here in Papa Village has a great impact in the whole community. Community is very pleased to have this coaching clinic here. And we thank ExxonMobil especially for arranging all these things.
The players were presented each with a certificate of participation at the end of the coaching clinic program and encouraged to make use of the skills acquired during training and push forward to the next level of rugby league. Annette Cora, Trukai Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League overseas, the Kiwi Fans women team this afternoon played out New Zealand's only international fixture of the COVID-affected season. With a new captain, new coach and 10 debutants, the Kiwi women overpowered a Samoan side.
As the only Kiwi team to run out on Mount Smart in 2020, the Kiwi Ferns had their chance to take centre stage with all other international fixtures wiped out by COVID. This week, a celebration of the Kiwi Ferns' 25th anniversary and the 35th birthday of hooker Crystal Rota, celebrating with her first outing as captain. She was the only capped member of a new-look spine which featured 2 rookie playmakers with big futures.
And puts it through, almost hits the referee, and has a chase for the line.
No chasers needed when you can use the posts instead. Te Atatu's Carly Hansen, the first of the new faces across the line. Next up was her halves partner and former Bay of Plenty 7-star, Autumn Stevens-Daly.
Running away from the defence or her support, but that was beautiful.
The Rotorua-born playmaker showing why she once travelled with the New Zealand 7 squad, setting up new winger Caitlin Vahakolo.
And Caitlin Vahakolo is going to score the try.
Before grabbing a second try of her own.
And it's going to be Stevens-Daly.
Without players from Australia and Samoa, the visitors featured just 3 players from last year's fixture, including former New Zealand age grade 7s rep Rikshay Lemanu.
Here's a charge for the line. Lemanu, she's got it down.
But Samoa were only able to score twice in a 28-8 defeat.
I'm always proud to represent New Zealand and to come onto home soil. This is my first time playing a test here, so holy.
Our only international fixture of the year, this is a moment these new Kiwi Ferns won't forget.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. Helen will be back with the weather report for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Moniplus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for today and tonight in the southern region. Cloudy morning, clearing for a mostly fine day with afternoon showers in Port Moresby. Mostly fine weather in Daru. Cloudy with occasional rain showers in Kerema. Partly cloudy, then fine with a chance of afternoon showers in Alotau. And partly cloudy with a chance of afternoon rain showers in Popondetta. In the Momase region, rain showers easing for a cloudy day with afternoon showers in Lae. Rain showers clearing towards the afternoon in Midang and Wewak, and rain showers in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with occasional rain showers in Lorengau and Kavieng. Cloudy morning, clearing for mostly fine day with afternoon showers in Kokoporabal and Kimbe, and partly cloudy with possible afternoon showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain showers easing, then a cloudy afternoon in Mount Hagen, morning fog clearing, then cloudy with occasional rain showers in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been Saturday's news. Thank you for your company. Good night.